Good morning. Welcome to the Rise for Peace virtual breakfast. We're so glad you're here. I'm Annette Lance Simmons, Executive Director of the Center for Conflict Resolution in Kansas City. As I listened to the music and watched the images, all kinds of emotions and thoughts came to mind. It's easy for us to focus on what divides us in our nation and in Kansas City. But what we're going to do today is inspire some hope. We'll be doing that by sharing stories about a philosophy most of us can agree on. People need safety. People need acknowledgement and participation, for their voice to be heard and included in things that affect them. People need to be treated fairly, equitably, and with dignity. People need to be able to heal from traumatic events and participate in processes that don't cause further trauma. Hope comes when we see some positive shifts going on in our city. Hope comes when we see the changes people make in their lives, turning away from violence and towards peaceful solutions. Hope comes when we can be part of the solution. As you learn more about our work at CCR, consider supporting the work we do by sharing a gift on our website or our Facebook page. In our brief time together this morning, we're going to hear from several leaders in our community whose organizations are key collaborators with the Center for Conflict Resolution. You'll also get an insider perspective from a few of our staff members who each day come face to face with situations that have the potential to go very wrong, but instead are transformed toward peaceful outcomes. Transformation is at the heart of the three connected bodies of work that we offer: conflict resolution, restorative justice, and trauma awareness and resilience. The Center for Conflict Resolution focuses its services around three groups: families, churches, and neighborhoods, prisons, reentry, probation and parole, and court-referred individuals, and then education, schools, and youth organizations. Because we are all different, conflict is inevitable, but violence is not. Teaching people how to respond to conflict in a positive way is what CCR is all about. And nowhere is that more important than in our schools. When students have knowledge and skills to manage conflict successfully, we can support meaningful change in their lives, as well as the communities where they learn, play, and live. Dr. Mark Bedell, Superintendent of Kansas City Public Schools, shares his insights on the importance of CCR's school-based programs, and just as important, the community's support of our work.
We've had a phenomenal working partnership with the Center for Conflict Resolution. I've started back in 2016, and they've been a part of this journey in the 4.2 years or so that I've been here as superintendent. What I'm most proud of is that in our partnership, we've been able to educate our faculty and staff and students on restorative practices. We started at two of our middle schools, which was Northeast Middle and Central Middle. And during my times of going and visiting those schools, of which I do unannounced, I watched how hard the faculty and staff of this organization have worked. Ms. Annette Simmons, Lance Simmons is phenomenal as a leader. But what I am most impressed with is that not only are you all working with our students, you actually trained our entire executive team. We went through a 2-day restorative circle of learning, and it equips us with the tools that we need to be able to go into our schools and figure out if implementation is taking place. Additionally, that training has been expanded now to where you have trained a number of administrators throughout our district. You also have trained SROs and some of our security officers to the tune of over 60. And I know that that will make a huge difference in the working relationships that they will have with our students. Finally, it is important to note that as a result of our partnerships, we have seen as a district a decrease in our suspension rates, a decrease in disciplinary infractions, And we believe that many of our adults are beginning to look at alternative ways to work with our kids, to educate our kids on how they need to properly address conflict that they have within each other or within adults. And we believe that it's making a difference. So I am extremely excited as superintendent to be able to continue the partnership. We're expanding this year, and we will have Lincoln Middle School as an addition. And we're looking forward to the continued partnership because I feel like it's been a true value add to our school district. So, Ms. Annette Simmons and team, way to go. I am extremely proud to be a partner with your organization.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning into our virtual Rise for Peace breakfast. I'm so thrilled that you're here today, and I'm so excited that I get to share with you some of the experiences that we have. So I mainly work in schools, and one of the things that's kind of challenging with our work in schools is that we don't often get to see kind of the full circle or the growth that happens from the seeds we plant of conflict resolution and restorative justice. So one really cool story that happened this past spring was a teacher I had worked with, a fourth grade teacher, texted me and told me later, after I had been out of her classroom for months, that one of the students had used some of our language about conflict resolution choices in a topic sentence paragraph. And this is a big deal, right? So this fourth grader is learning how to write paragraphs. And she also did not like me. She really, during the time I was with her at least, she was kind of challenging to work with and didn't really seem like she wanted to be in my class, which is totally fine, but we kept on going. And so when I got this text, I was so excited because she actually showed this growth that that she was using the stuff that we had taught to actually engage with not only life, but with her writing. And that was one of the coolest moments. And I really did see kind of that seed that we planted kind of just grow. And that was one of the coolest moments I think I've had working for CCR, was getting that text message and following up with that teacher.
That's so interesting. I'm reminded of a quote that Warren Buffett said. He said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because of a tree that someone planted a long time ago." And today, more than ever, our youth are needing more seed planters. They're needing people like you and I that'll take the time to go in the classroom, learn about them, learn about their experience. I know that that's one of the things that helped me get to this place in life, quite literally. I grew up in a place and time where I didn't know who I would see the next day. And without people that were actively there in my life to be these wonderful places of support and understanding, there's a real chance that I wouldn't be here today. And so this is the experience that a lot of the kids that we work with have. In Kansas City, there are a lot of places where children are exposed to traumatic events. In fact, during one of the workshops that I was leading, there was a young man where after class comes up to me and he begins telling me about his experience. During the class, he was giving off some not something is wrong vibes, but he wasn't all the way there type of vibe, which all the time we don't always read that correctly. Sometimes we may perceive it as, oh, they don't like the material that I'm presenting. They think it's boring. They'd rather be sleeping and or eating. But we were particularly just checking in. And after class, I was amazed that the young man came up to me and shared that he had witnessed someone driving with a gun pointed out the window. You know, this young man was confronted with an opportunity to think about whether or not this was going to be the last time he'd breathe, last time he'd see anything. And this is the same kid that still ended up having to come to school, still having to do his homework, having to interact with other students, while also mentally dealing with this very visual image that he clearly saw. Every day we're confronted with stories like this. It may not be exactly a young man seeing a person holding a gun, but it could be there's something going on at home, some evidence of violence there. It could be something that is going on in the school. someone that they're having an issue with. And we have the privilege and opportunity to provide them with the language that they need to deal with that conflict, to better understand the interpersonal dynamics of perspective, to understand concepts like, is this a situation that I may need to walk away from and why? Are there things that I'm dealing with from my past that are impeding my ability to read the situation correctly? And so just grateful that we have an opportunity to positively contribute to their character.
We're living in a time of uncertainty and anxiety as our city's rate of violence and crime is on the rise. Did you know that the #1 known cause for homicide is arguments? Sadly, the inability to manage conflict too often results in tragedy. At CCR, we partner with our judicial and corrections systems to work directly with both people who have harmed others and with people who have been harmed. These programs give us opportunity to offer alternatives to violence through restorative practices. People learn new skills for conflict so that retaliation is not the first response to violence.
If you step right outside the door, we all have the same goal. So the benefit I got was learning about restorative justice as we kind of bootstrapped that together to make it work throughout my time in the prosecutor's office. And what I learned from victims in particular is how much more satisfied they felt about the process and how much more comfortable they felt with the level of engagement that they got to have through a system where they got to be recognized, they got to speak their own piece, and they were part of the solution. You know, I kind of self-taught, myself how to make this work, how to do it. But I think it lends a lot more credibility to have someone outside of the system, helping us put this together in a way that's good for all parties. So not just the expertise level, but even getting out of the courthouse and being away from, that system itself just allows for a lot more flexibility and a lot more opportunity to address real problems. Because I've seen in victims the power of forgiveness that I find remarkable and stunning, that they're able to give it. Some people can't, but some people can. And I've seen in offenders, the willingness to look at their own conduct, to look at the harm that they have caused, and to really lean into correcting that.
The Kansas City Reentry Center is a minimum level prison located down in the West Bottoms, and it's kind of unique because our focus is on reentry. All the guys there are within 15 months of being released on supervision. So not only are they being released, but they're really being released to the Kansas City metro area. So these are local men coming back to the community within 15 months. So we're really trying to focus and give them the tools to put in their tool belt to be successful when they get out. The classes have been coming in there. They're very well received by the men. They really enjoy the classes. It's kind of an outlet for them to talk, the circle discussions. They learn a lot of different things, and not just about themselves, but about others. They talk a lot about dignity, conflict, the community. Before they can lead other people or help others, they have to help themselves. So some of those things they don't always realize about themselves. So through those classes, they're learning about themselves, and what we found is, you start to see a little swagger in them, a little bit of pride that, hey, I've got some positive things going that I didn't realize, it's not all bad. I do have some positive things to contribute to the community, whether it's a prison community or when they get out to the community. And I just really think it's a valuable program because these guys are gonna be our neighbors, We want them to feel like, hey, they're worth it. You can do these things, and you can be a leader in here. You can be a leader in your community. The things they're learning are things that will help them for the rest of their life. It's not just something that is isolated to learn in prison that they can only use. They can use it in their personal life. They can use it at their job. They can use it family, friends. These are things that are going to be valuable for them for the rest of their lives.
Luane, one of our participants, said these classes saved his life by helping him deal with issues that had plagued him for years. He now saw how the lessons he learned in class were changing him and making him a better father to his daughter. He was grateful for the results. CCR also offers support circles over a 12-week period for people who were on probation or parole. These support circles bring together participants, their parole officers, and organizations in the community that offer reentry services to create a network of support for those in transition. Dana King, a parole officer who helped organize the support circles, talked about CCR's work, saying they do amazing work with our clients each and every week. One of these service providers was also impressed with how the support circles brought everyone together in one place to address the client's needs. One of the clients said the class on trauma and anger allowed her to think about issues she had dealt with separately, but had never seen the connection between the trauma she endured and the anger she expressed. This insight was a revelation to her in dealing with her anger issues.
I have a lot of hope because I get to work with real people. And where there are people, there's hope.
CCR has been serving the Kansas City community for over 20 years. Our well-trained and experienced staff members guide others to resolve problems, even in the most trying situations. We help people get along. Landlords and tenants, neighbors, students, families, and coworkers, so that people are safe, feel valued and understood, and can live with dignity.
We see them every day. Those nameless men and women standing at the intersections holding signs. Many of the signs include the word homeless. And so many times we avoid their eye contact. Homelessness is a real possibility for tenants in landlord-tenant cases. And you can't avoid their eye contact. You can't avoid their story. You get to know their name, their story, and their plight. Recently, a young mother faced eviction. Newly separated, the rent was more than she could pay, and she'd moved out the day before court. The landlord wanted back rent, and the tenant, she wanted to avoid the eviction. Negotiations were tense. The young mother became agitated and finally screamed, "I'd rather take a bullet to the head than to have another eviction." Both the landlord and I were surprised. And the emotion was just off the charts. I asked her to explain. And she told us that if she had one more eviction on her record, she would never get her children back from DCS. She told us she'd been evicted several times before after separating from the children's father. One more eviction would cause her to permanently lose the children. It was a lot to absorb. And after a long pause, the landlord said, "I guess I should just be happy I have my property back." After another pause, she said, "I'm just going to dismiss the case." The young mother exploded in tears and thanked her for saving her life. It stuck with me. Now when I approach an intersection where the people are standing with signs, I don't stare, but I don't avoid eye contact either. I love the work we do at CCR.
Hi there, I'm Quentin Lucas, the mayor of Kansas City. I wanted to say thank you all for your support of the Center for Conflict Resolution. This has been a challenging year in many ways in Kansas City. And one thing that we have learned, not just this year, but in years past, and it's the sort of thing that you work on all the time, is that we can't enforce our way out of our problems. We can't merely throw money at the back end of the process. What we need to do is teach more conflict resolution on our streets, in our schools, in our families. And that's the sort of work that you've done. Whether they be at high school programs, whether they be out in the community, whether they be helping folks of all ages figure out how we can resolve peacefully so many of the conflicts of our time and of our day. I want to say thank you for your support because you are making a difference to the future of our community, not just in how it relates to crime, but how it relates to how we interact. There's a lot of divisiveness now in our country, in our state, and unfortunately in our city. I see it each day, I hear it each day, sometimes I'm even a part of it. I thank you for what you do to say that things can change. Things can change for the positive. And your lessons and your mentorship have meant so much to me and have meant so much to our city. On behalf of Kansas Cityans and indeed an entire region, I say thank you so much. God bless you and keep up the great work.
Hi, my name is Rick Ciro. I'm an attorney with the Ciro Smith Dixon Law Firm here in Kansas City and a member of the Board of Directors for the Center for Conflict Resolution. I've been on the board for over 10 years now, and the reason I'm so passionate for this organization is they just work. They do wonderful things for this community. Great leadership, great staff, great mission. Thank you all for spending your morning with us, and we hope and trust that your time has been well spent as you've learned more about the vital role CCR plays in the life of our community. As you and your family continue to persevere and hopefully thrive in these difficult times, a time of unparalleled divisiveness in our cities and nation, we hope you will look to CCR as a resource and also as a source of hope. If we could be of any assistance to you, your family, or organization in any way, we hope you'll reach out to us. Likewise, if you've been inspired by the work CCR is doing to build a peaceful and safer Kansas City, I hope you will show your support by sharing a gift today to personally invest in our mission. You will find links to our donations page on our social media channels or by visiting our website, ccrkc.org. I know for many of us these are tough times, but please be as generous as possible, knowing you are helping CCR continue to provide vital services where they are most needed, especially among the 60% of people we serve who can become trapped in that cycle of violence that harms so many families and communities. Thanks again for your generous support.
I know that there are hundreds of people who have tuned in to this event. And it's unfortunate that we aren't able to all meet in person. I remember the banquet last year and having an opportunity to offer remarks and just the passion that I saw in many of the participants who were there that day. It is important that we continue this partnership, that we are able to properly fund expansion of services from the Center for Conflict Resolution. And any and everything that you all can do to support this organization, in my opinion, will be a significant value add to this community. We will be able to provide more services across this school system and also across those organizations that reside within the boundaries of the Kansas City Public School District. And our ultimate goal, everybody, is just to have healthy communities across this city. And if we can do that, then that's when we begin to truly shape the future of Kansas City, to make it a city that truly embraces all, but a city that's safe for all, because we've worked with developing our youngsters and how they need to properly conduct themselves when they run into conflict. So thank you.
I'm grateful to all of our guests today and hope their stories have given you new hope and confidence in the work that we do. Whether this is your first encounter with CCR or if you're a longtime friend, we welcome your involvement. I also invite you to go to our website, shown here, to learn more about CCR's history and successes. Thank you again for joining us today. Your presence and your support is important to CCR.